Yo, everybody, this is Pamela checking in, doing her long promised live stream. I've been pretty busy here over the last couple days and wanted to get back on the ball and doing these video streams on a regular basis on my secondary channel. But before I get into talking about the film The Public, I want to get into some news bits about Lori Loughlin, aka Aunt Becky from Full House, and her husband have been charged with money laundering. It came over my local news affiliate here about 5 minutes ago. And it looks like she is in some deep shit, along with 15 other people. Let's get this ad off of here. Let's see. This came out a little over a half an hour ago from Deep CNN. Lori Loughlin and 15 other parents hit with more charges in the college admission scam. Again, Lori Loughlin and 15 other parents hit with more charges in the college admission scam. And they say she and 15 other wealthy parents now face additional charge of money laundering as part of the growing college admission scandals. The parents who were charged last month with conspiracy to commit fraud were charged on Tuesday in a superseding indictment in conspiring to launder bribes and other payments through a charity run by Rick Singer, the mastermind of the scam, as well as by transferring money to the United States to promote the fraud. That's what the prosecutors say. Loughlin and her husband are accused of paying $500,000 to Singer's fake charity to get their two kids into the University of Southern California as crew recruits, even though the doctors do not participate in the sport. The couple appeared last week in federal court in Boston, but they have not been publicly indicated on how they plan to plead. In addition, Gamel Appledees, Diane and Todd Blake, Ihish, Joey, Chen, Elizabeth, and Manuel Haringas, Douglas Hodge, Michael Janovis, Elizabeth Kimmel, William McGershman Jr., Marcy Patella, John Wilson, and others also charged in the superseding indictment. 33 wealthy parents are among the 50 arrested last month in a sprawling investigation that officials dubbed Operation Varsity Blues. Prosecutors said the parents used their wealth to cheat on standardized tests for their children and bribe college administrators and coaches who had say over who was admitted. The added charges come just a day after 13 parents, including Felicity and one coach, agreed to plead guilty in the case. Hoffman, the former star of Desperate Housewives, pled guilty to paying $15,000 to the charity known as Key Worldwide Foundation to facilitate cheating for her daughter on the SATs, the complaint said. In a statement, she expressed deep regret and shame for what she had done. She has a plea hearing set for May 24th in federal court in Boston, prosecutors said on Twitter. And it goes on to say here in a lower headline, in highlighted print, it says, mounting troubles for Loughlin. And it goes on to say, the money laundering charges is another blow for Loughlin, the Full House actress who was dropped by the Hallmark Channel and other brands in the wake of last month's charges. Sephora also ended a makeup partnership with her daughter, the social media influencer Olivia Jade, who was a student at USC. Loughlin's daughters were recruited to USC as Coxswains. Coxswains. The crew member responsible for steering, even though they did not row competitively or otherwise participate in crew. The criminal complaint had said. So let me get this clear. Lachlan's daughters were part of a crew member in rowing, but they never actually competed or rowed in their so-called sport. And it says she and her husband even sent Singer photos of each daughter on an ergometer, the rowing machine, the complaint said. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, Lori and her husband sent pictures of their daughter sitting on a rowing machine, even though they might not have ever actually used one. Quote, I want to thank you again for your great work with our older daughter. She was very excited, and both Lori and I are appreciative of your efforts and results. Her husband allegedly wrote in an email to Singer that is included in the complaint. Also on Tuesday, attorneys representing some of the parents charged in the superseding indictment filed a letter with the U.S. District Court Chief Judge in Boston, stating prosecutors were engaging in judge shopping. The letter said that their clients shouldn't be included in the same indictments as David Sadu, another parent charged last month with conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. The attorneys charged in the move include them in one indictment along with Sadu, a maneuver by the U.S. Attorney's Office to evade the random assignment of judges, citing that none of the clients have connections or have done business with Sadu. The attorneys say the prosecutors plan to join their clients in the Sadu indictment. It's a clear form of judge shopping, they say. Well, from what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Becky Katsopoulos, Miss Lori Lachlan, and her husband, along with 15 other parents, are hit with more charges in the college admission scam. That includes money laundering, ladies and gentlemen. Money laundering. This is serious. Money laundering, people. I am just fed to the teeth with elitists getting away with it. They need to go through their colleges. And if there's any parent, rich or not, committing these types of acts, they should be brought up on charges and thrown in jail. And Felicity only apologized, I think, because she was caught. She was caught in this situation. Just like Lori Lachlan's been caught, but she's been dropped from her Hallmark contributions. She has been dropped from Fuller House, and her daughter, Olivia Jade, has lost all her endorsements, and she has not been on her YouTube channels, and people have been roasting this girl. Call it public shaming. And I even posted a comment on her page, Olivia Jade. Look for it on YouTube, Olivia Jade. She has a vlog and one other channel on this enterprise. And I said, you know what, young lady? There are some people that work hard every day to get their money together for college. It starts with the parents. Maybe when the kid is born, they start putting money together for a college scholarship. But there are some out there that'll never get the chance to go to college. Some due to lack of funds, physical disabilities, whatnot. And I said, I had a friend of mine that had to fight his way to go to college. Almost had to sue Ohio State because they wouldn't provide the medical necessities set up required so that he could be able to stay someplace where he can get his living arrangements in order and be able to attend class. What kind of bullshit is that? Lori Loughlin is going down the pike, and I found out about her recent charges on my local news just before I came on here to do the stream about a film called The Public. And it's a shame, you know. Lori Loughlin and others like her play the consummate parent, doing the right thing for their kids, teaching them the values of right and wrong. But she walked the walk, but she couldn't talk the talk. And now Lori and Felicity and others like her are going to pay for it. Well, hopefully she'll be in jail for a long time. I heard that the most that they could get on the first charges is like 20 years. And if these other charges for laundering, happen to be added to that, you're going to pay with time, honey. It's time for not just the elitists to clean up their act, but anybody who cheats and anybody who accepts bribes should be fired. I have no sympathy for any of those people, because there are people that work hard to do what they need to do, and they help their kids get into college. They help them with their homework every night. And when they get the money, what they can pay for that semester, they send their kid to college. And if the kid is lucky, he'll be able to land a job to help offset some of the cost in terms of books, and not to mention food to eat and gas in the car. Well, now Lori Loughlin's going to pay for her own crimes. If you can't do it honestly, then don't send your kids to college at all. Let's just say Olivia Jade and her sister will be lucky to be flipping burgers. And Lori Loughlin is what, 55? She'll be lucky if she has another job in Hollywood. And in terms of Fuller House, I heard that they were going to divorce Jesse Kasopoulos from Becky. So any news on Fuller House, I will be sure to post it here. But, I said I want to get on here and talk about that. We got that out of the way. Now I want to move on to talk about a film called The Public. It is an independent film written and directed by Emilio Estevez. And some of you may remember him from the Mighty Ducks movies, or The Breakfast Club, or St. Elmo's Fire. But I had the privilege and the pleasure of going to see that show Sunday afternoon. I didn't know when the Q&A was going to happen, so I was up there at Easton until after 9 o'clock that night. And not knowing what was going to happen, I spent most of my day trying to kill off some really nervous energy, because I brought my Breakfast Club movie from home, and I brought the soundtrack from Barnes & Noble. I had to buy another copy because my other copy wound up missing. When I went and saw the movie The Public, and it actually shines a light on the homeless, and how even with most of the shelters that are set up to help provide for these people, too often there's not enough support for these people to actually get them into a safe environment where they could be warm, fed, and taken care of. But Emilio's movie also points out that the world can be pretty cruel to the homeless at times. Some people see them as lazy bums who drink. Some people see them as a bunch of nobodies that are too lazy. They expect everything to be handed to them. But homelessness can hit all spectrums. It doesn't matter whether you're working at a high-end job or if you're a member in the service. There are people with emotional hang-ups, physical hang-ups. Even some of our armed servicemen could be. Some of our former armed servicemen of the service could be homeless. They could come home and be left with nothing. It really opened my eyes to how homelessness can affect a lot of people, and it centers on a librarian played by Emilio Estevez, who does his job working at the library. And he's aware of some of the homeless people that come in to get warm and use their facilities to wash themselves or to brush their teeth. And basically, the library is like a haven for some to give them something to do. This was filmed in Cincinnati, in the main library down there at Cincinnati. And it was a real eye-opener because it actually shows you different looks at the homeless community through the eyes of, say, the mayor or the chief of police. The chief of police could give two shits about the homeless. And the one person trying to be elected into office, they show those fancy ads that they show at election time, acting like he cares about the community. But the more we dig into the story is, he wants to get these homeless people out, and he doesn't care by which way we could get them out. And as the movie moves along, the mayor that's still in office doesn't see a potential threat. He sees people taking a peaceful demonstration to call onto the plight of the homeless and getting them help. And at one point, the mayor says his adieus and joins in the peaceful protest. And he goes in, has a bite of pizza with them, and actually sees the demographic that happens when you have people that are homeless. You have vets that are homeless. You have disabled people that are homeless. You have people with other health conditions that can be homeless. In fact, I think one of them has a seizure, and they have to figure out a way to get him to a nearby hospital to get him some treatment. And it's really sad that there are people that are willing to help, but there's not enough people to help. And too often, people in society, the general society, and even some in the elected arena tend to look down on homeless as bums. And it's sad. And I think the film should be seen with an open eye, and don't mock them, because, we could all be in that situation. Homelessness can hit anybody at any time. I mean, I even thought I was going to be hit with homelessness at one point in time. When my parents died, my father in 2009, the summer of 2009, and my mother, January of 2013, I had a real rough time with that because I thought my sister was going to throw my ass out on the streets. Even at my father's funeral, she would say, she could live in the house until the trust fund runs out. And I hear her words. I hear her words in my head to this day. And I'm thinking at the service, I'm like, Jesus Christ, woman, why don't you just throw me out on the streets? Maybe I'll freeze to death in summer. Maybe I'll have to urinate outdoors. And it's sad. And I thought, would she look down on me if I was homeless? I had fears of being homeless. Where would I sleep at night? Where would I be able to plug in my electric chair? And there's a lot of people that can't get a job no matter how hard they try. And it's not just because people are homeless because they want to be. There's not enough jobs. There's not enough security. And Emilio's movie opens up our eyes to that. And one guy in the film was a veteran. He says, I did everything right. I raised my family. They grew up. I went into the service, served my country. My kids grew up, and here I am, sitting in a library, homeless. And it's sad. And there are a lot of reviewers out there that are giving Emilio flack about shoving the good intentions down our throat. But I think The Public is a very gripping film, and it brings the plight of the homeless to the forefront. And we really, really, really need to talk about it. And before I get off here, ladies and gentlemen, to go over to my other channel to talk about this, there was a guy here in Columbus that used to work for a station called CD 101. They called him the man with the golden voice. Give me a second and I will look that up and I will link it to the sidebar here. Hold on. What happened to the homeless man with the golden voice? Okay, here we go. The guy's name is Ted Williams. I've seen some articles here from 2017 and 2018. Okay. Here's one from October of 2016 from CNN that says, "The man with the golden voice. I went from homeless to Hollywood." So let's see. Oh, here's a video for that, but I don't want to post videos. I want to post stories. Okay, here's one. This comes from, here's a story that I found. BDO, it's called blackdoctor.org. And I'll link it on the sidebar once I get this done. If it will allow me to. Here we go. Man with the golden voice finally returns to radio. And there's a couple of pictures of this man who was homeless on my street of Columbus. And there's a video embedded with this. And it says here that, remember the, Jesus Christ, fucking ads. If you can put up with that, you can read this article when I'm done. But this comes off of BDO, blackdoctor.org. The guy's name was Ted Williams. He was a homeless man on my city of Columbus, the East Side streets. And it says here, remember the golden voice, Ted Williams? It's been exactly 5 years since Ted, the guy who went from homeless to an internet sensation, after a video of him showcasing a perfect radio voice while panhandling on the side of the road in Ohio, went viral. Ted went back to work this week at the very same gospel radio station where he'd begun his radio career in the 1980s. Williams, now 58, spent the last 25 years battling with drug and alcohol abuse, but he's back and he says he owes it all to God, he says. Williams first developed his pitch-perfect style of disc jockey's voice through a career working in radio. A career interrupted when drug and alcohol addiction sent him from the studio to the streets. And while on the side of the road, someone shared a video of Williams doing what he does best, speaking with his golden voice. The video quickly went viral, and Ted started getting offers from everywhere, even an appearance on Dr. Phil and Today. The video as well landing him a $395,000 book deal. For a book entitled A Golden Voice, How faith and hard work and humanity brought me from the streets to salvation. But maybe it all came too soon. Ted wasn't ready for the fame, and quickly rumors started surfacing that he was back on drugs after being clean for over 2 years. And shortly after that, he was back living on the same streets he tried so hard to get away from. As many former addicts report the importance of having a strong support system to assist in not falling back into previous destructive behavior. Any sign of difficulty, stress, major life changes can also cause a clean former addict to revert back. And here's a little clip from the Dispatch who reported. In October 2014, the last time Williams spoke with the Dispatch, he said he was living in a near East Side apartment with no furniture. Williams said he lost out on millions because of inexperienced and dishonest managers who didn't have his best interest at heart as opportunities to use his honeyed baritone arose. He declined to elaborate, but Ted has made moves to finally put his past behind him, and in 2016 he actually landed back on the same radio job before the alcohol and drugs took over. And now he's streaming live for all those fans he reached all over the world. Quote, "See how God works," unquote, a sober Williams said on Thursday morning, speaking into a microphone as calls and messages come in from people all over the globe, such as Germany and Africa. It's come full circle. Thank you, Jesus, he said. He's now living on the West Side with his daughter, Tangela Poughton, and his longtime girlfriend, Kathleen Chambers, who, like Williams, who has battled drugs and also attended a rehab program paid for by Dr. Phil. I want them to know that I've been through struggles, and they have too, he said. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. It really means 1 second at a time. And Ted's right. You got to take every second, one day at a time, Drugs and alcohol are a major thing to kick. And even the smallest thing of stress could put somebody over into a hole. Here's that story about Ted Williams, the man with the golden voice. And I'm going to put it in this little ticker here. Yep. You could read that. And I think he had a role on CD 101, but let's see what else it says here. Homeless people have it, a lot more difficult, Sometimes getting a job isn't as easy, and other people have emotional hang-ups, drug issues, and other health issues. Go and watch that film, The Public. It talks about urban homelessness. It doesn't just happen in Cincy. It doesn't just happen in California. It could happen in any town, USA. So check it out. Watch that movie. And before I get off tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you something. They had a Q&A at this screening that I went to. And I was fortunate and lucky enough to get to go. And I was so sad that not very many people went to see it. It's in limited release. Hopefully, if things go well for the public, more and more people will go in to see it. But I asked the pertinent question. They have a scene where they have a nudity in the picture. And it involves Emilio. And I asked him, I said, were you really full frontal nude? And he's like, well, not fully nude. He probably had on like that, like a unitard over his package, if you know what I mean. but you see his rear end and the rest of him. But I said, you were very brave to do that. You were very brave to do that, to help in the plight for the homeless. But, he asked a lot of questions, and even some people asked him, should I embark on an acting career? And the lady that was with him answered that question. Yeah, you don't have to move to New York or to California to pursue your movie career. Be proud of where you come from. Be Ohio. Speak out for your state, and they were like really nice people. And he answered a few questions from the Breakfast Club, and even where he played a character called Billy the Kid. One person said, "You'll always be Billy the Kid to me," and I'm sure he's gotten a lot of Breakfast Club cracks here and there, but I guess it goes with his type of career. He's known as one of the biggest members of the Brat Pack. And then before he left, I didn't get a chance to get a picture with him. That was my only regret from this whole thing. I didn't get a photograph with him, but I did get some autographed items here. This is a CD with his signature, if you can see it in the glare. And he signed it in his character's name. And he was so gracious when he signed these. And look at that. Signed, sealed, and all mine, buddy. Signed, sealed, and all mine. Because I'm not about to give this thing up. Nope. But Amelia was very nice, very charitable. But get out there and see his films. You really have to understand where he comes from. But I happen to think that maybe Emilio really wants us to come together and help our fellow man. Maybe he understands the plight of the human condition better than most elected officials. Most people see the homeless people as thugs. Some end up homeless, like that guy, Ted Williams, who let drugs and alcohol overtake him. But, you have to find a way to get clean, stay clean, and clean your life up and get together. Get your crap together. But, it points out that even though there are people out there that'll help and that there are homeless shelters to be had, there's just not enough. There's not enough beds, not enough space, and certainly not enough resources to help those that are homeless to get back on their feet and get them into a sober living situation, or see a psychologist to handle their illnesses and whatnot. Some people end up homeless because maybe the job market isn't so ripe anymore. And it's sad. Check out that film, The Public. Check it out. It's worth a watch. And if it comes on digital platforms, which I'm sure it will, be sure to pick that movie up. Watch it, rewatch it, and for goodness sake, make some noise and help our fellow brother and sister that may be in a real spot. Whether they're homeless, whether they're on the low income spectrum, or those that have physical or emotional issues, please help them. Because they got to help support somebody. The homeless people have it hard enough with the stigma of being called bums and lazy. Sometimes things happen for reasons we can't even begin to understand. And I want to thank Emilio personally for making the film The Public. And I'm hoping it'll come to digital platforms soon, because I will be picking that up. Um, and Emilio has said that it took 10 years for him to write that movie. So since 2009, he has wrote and crafted a piece of film that depicts the plight of the homeless community in urban areas. And he said he thought that he would do it in California, but then he thought, well, maybe doing it in a place like Chicago or someplace in the northern part of the eastern part of the country would really amplify what some of the homeless people really go through when they're stuck on the streets and there's no beds open and no food anywhere. And it's really sad. Think about your fellow brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, because they don't have much. And I've been known to, at first, kind of ignore the homeless. Some of them look scarier than others. I once knew a lady that used to live behind Eastland Mall over at Columbus. And she would live outside in a tent and take care of stray cats and sleep out there in the worst conditions possible. And yet she would find a way to get food. And I think she got out of that lifestyle because I haven't seen her for a couple of years. And if she did, I'm hoping she did. But if you see somebody that's homeless, try and steer them in a way to get them to the faith mission, get them to a homeless shelter that has some open space, and maybe help them get directed to proper channels where they could get the help that they need. And I want to thank Emilio again for doing such an amazing film. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Homeless does not discriminate. It can hit all ages. It can hit all creeds. It can hit veterans. It can hit disabled. Even the crazy. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Go see that movie. Make some noise. And support your local library also. Take care, everybody.